Hey guys, it's Alan from Styrene Air Force again. Welcome to part 4 of the 148 scale Monogram F-4C build. Today we're going to be focusing on the stores. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a set of sidewinders and then another set of sidewinders. I don't know why the kit provided two, but clearly one's more detailed than the other. So the one that is not so detailed, we're getting rid of that one. And then we're going to go with this. We just got to get these all cleaned up and assembled, get rid of all the injection pin marks, and have that one ready. Another thing that we've got are the spiral missiles. That's going to go in there. They've got a couple of radar pods here. I haven't decided which one I want to use yet. This one's going to need some working. This one's going to need some scribing, and so forth and so on. Again, the sparrows. So I'm only going to be using 2 of the 4 because these are going to go into place of one of those, or actually I think it's going to be 3 of the 4. These also have to be cleaned up. We're going to thin out the fins and all of that and bring it a little bit more closer to scale. Then there's also the wing-mounted drop tanks. I got some pencil marks here because we're going to have to scribe out all that detail. The fuel filler cap there and parts of the pylon. And the last thing that's going to be there is going to be the centerline cannon, the pod gun. So what I had to do was, it wasn't exactly the way I saw pictures of it in references, so I had to do a little bit of an upgrade. There seemed to have been a little fin or a vent on top of it here that was missing in the actual detail. Also, I just realized I got to do a little something with this here. Not that it really matters, it's going to be underneath and you won't see it anyways. So these will be the things that are going on to this kit. After this, we're going to start scribing out all of these lines, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. And then, but the missiles and stuff, I will clean those up off camera. And then once I'm done with that, we'll come back in. We'll take a look at this stuff again, see how they've cleaned up. We'll do the scribing on the tanks, and then we'll get them prepped for priming. Well, now, before we start, I just want to go over a couple of the tools we're going to need to perform this scribing. First thing we're going to need basically is the tools for actually scribing. One of the main tools that you can get, this is probably the most common one, is an awl. This used to be part of a dental tool. I took the back end off because it didn't really need a hook end. I had one of those XL modeling type ones, and the sharp end broke off, and I haven't been able to get it replaced, but this actually works better than it, so I've actually got that. Another one that I do get is one of these. It's kind of a general purpose awl that I picked up in one of the surplus stores. It's okay, it's not that great. The thing here is a little weak, so it kind of bends very easy. So this one I just really keep just for, doing stabbing stuff and that sort of thing. Another thing it's always good to have is your knife. Sometimes you may have to use this to pre-mark so that you got yourself a line to work with. And another good tool to have is a saw. These are great for like wing leading edges. You can just basically go around and do that, but it's also good for getting some preliminary line work done on round surfaces. And then finally, for the actual scribing, we've got the infamous UMM Universal Scriber. Excellent tool. If you don't have this, I strongly recommend getting it. It is a very versatile tool. It's got your scribing edge here, it's got a scribing edge here, it's got a digging edge there, it's got a rounding edge there, it's got a scraping edge here. It's almost like a knife edge, so it almost follows everything on its own. But this really is a great tool to have. Another good tool to have are a bunch of different scribing templates. You got them in all different sizes, all different shapes. So you got this kind here. They come with squares, they come with different circles, ovals, whatever. These are good to have. And then you also need something wouldn't be a bad idea to have something with a straight edge. This is all came as part of the other piece you saw. It is a little battered. It does flex and bend, and then after a while, they start to break. Another good thing you can get for that instead would be, you know, the Dymo tape. I actually had a roll here. I don't know where exactly I put it, but the Dymo tape for the little labeling gun machines, that's a good thing to use to get straight lines. And then there's these tapes from a company called HQT. You can get this through the Gundam store. You can get it also through Hobby World USA. This is also excellent for doing scribing lines. Another thing that's always good to have is a pencil, so you can mark the lines where you're going and set up your rivet lines, and an eraser to erase that after the fact. Final thing you're probably going to need is, you know, different grades of sandpaper, because what will happen is, and I will show you just basically, is in a lot of cases, depending on the tool that you're using. So you've got your area there that you're going to get the scribing thing in. What will happen is that when you use like the awl for your scribing, what you're going to do is basically put in a little indentation there, but it's also just going to basically push out. You're going to get a layer of plastic coming up concave like that. So what you need the sandpaper to do is just knock those down, so all you're left with is just a little line there. Because if you don't do that, plastic has this tendency to have a memory, and after a while, over time, depending on, you know, if you got it in your display case and the heat gets on it a little bit from like lamps and all of that, what will happen is it'll go back to its original shape, probably close that hole up a bit. So what you want to do is that. So what you really need is a tool that is actually going to remove material. So let's see if I can get you an idea of that. So I can use this piece of this wing. So what you want is something that when you scribe it, you're going to get this. So you see this little curly Q thing here? That's what you want to see. That is actually removing material. Something like this you most likely would not have to sand because you've actually got it out, but it's still a good idea to sand that out. The final thing that you're probably going to need for this would be brushes, so that once you sand it, you know, the sanding dust that gets in it, you can brush it all out. So that's a basic rundown of the most common tools you're going to need for this. And if you're going to be doing any kind of riveting, another good tool to have is going to be an RB Productions tool. Some people like the Rosie the Riveter. There's a trumpeter one. They all serve their purposes. These I like because they're basic, they're simple, they're easy to load up and all of that. And they just work with a basic X-Acto knife handle. So that's it. And now we got through that, let's get on to getting these pieces done. First thing we want to look at are those Sidewinder missiles. So as you can see, I've got them all assembled. They're pretty well detailed. I got a lot of the little scribing lines here to get the mold lines to get rid of. Easiest way to do with that is just to sand them off. So you can just use a little piece of sandpaper here and just, you know, sand down the sides there. And then you just want to clean up that. That way, so when you paint it, they don't look like, you know, they split in half or whatever. So you just want to get those cleaned up and make sure you get as much of it off as possible, so that when they do get painted, they just look like smooth cylinders for the missiles. So that's the first thing we're going to do, and then once we get that done with these are pretty much done. I've already kind of done a lot of it off camera because, like I said, I don't want to bore people with the building aspect of it, more or less the detailing. So we're going to get these out of the way. We're done with that. So the next thing we want to look at are the Sparrow missiles. Now I've got some little bit of the filler here, which I started to cover a pinhole with. So I'm just going to keep sanding those until I get it nice and smooth. and stuff like that. So what we want to first do is we want to start getting these fins for the missiles to be a little bit more in scale. So I don't know how many of you guys actually got the encyclopedia series from Diego Quijano. And there was a few little very helpful tips in there as to, you know, how to do stuff like that. So one of the first things is to basically make sure all your mold lines are gone. And then the fins, all you want to do is get these fins. And I don't know if you can see them like here right now. They are a little thick, especially this top one right here. So what you want to do with these is you want to just get, you know, you can even use a nail file and emery board. And you just want to sand them down and bevel them towards the end. Make sure you get them on both sides so that they're even. You don't need to take a whole lot off. You just want to get them sanded down to a point. Just so that, because I hate the idea of cutting them off and putting on replacements made with thin sheet and all of that. That's just too much work for me, and I'm a little lazy sometimes. So I actually prefer this method. Is just to sand these down. They're already there. They're fitted on nice and strong, and that's it. So what you're going to get is this. So if you can see, when you look at the edge, your eye is just gonna gravitate towards this very thin edge right here. So that's pretty much what you want to draw the attention to with these things. That would be the first thing. Next thing you're gonna have to look about here is there's some detail on it here that you want to scribe back. So there's a few little things here, and then I have this one last one here that's got a bit of referenced lines here that you just want to make sure you can get back on it. Now, most of these are really just lines and bands on it, so you can decide to do it if you want to or not. It's entirely up to you. So that's one of the things I would do, and we'll just get all of that done on these missiles here, and we'll go from there. What I may do with these is I may not even scribe these out right now. I may just do something completely different here with these, but at least the heads here, you want to get those at least scribed out so at least they look separate. And we'll just go from there. We can probably just, you know, like I said, you could just probably do something like use the saw here. And just roll it around like that. Boom. Okay, so it's not like you're getting this humongous line. You just want enough that'll show up. So you get that there. You want to get the rest of it. Just sand that off right there. Boom. Done. You want to get the thing cleaned out. Now you may not see it too well, but there is a bit of a line in there. Like I said, it's not the most perfect thing, but once it's all done, painted up, and you get a wash into that, it's going to look pretty brilliant. So we can just do the same thing here one more time. Again, you just find the line that's there. Just make sure you just go directly across from it. And just pull the saw across it a couple of times. Then rotate it until you're back at the beginning. And that's that. There you go. Get them all sanded up. And get them all cleaned out. The other bands here, you can just basically paint those in. Those are just guidelines, I guess, molded guidelines in the kit to show where, you know, the striping and stuff is going to be painted. And just do that. And back around to the side there, and just clean it off. Make sure you get rid of some of those sanding marks. Put a bit of a nice shiny, nice smooth sandpaper and get them all done. So what I'm going to do here now in the meantime is I'm going to go ahead and take care of all of these fins, get them all thinned down, and get these ready for priming. Just a quick thing back to the missiles. One of the things that I forgot to point out was the very back here. So a lot of these missiles were solid propellant type fuel for it, and it just had a little indentation in the back here. And what I did with that was I used one of these here on the back of my rotary tool, and just went in and just kind of just touch till I got enough of depression there. So I just wanted to show that. Now that we've gotten through that, the next part is we're going to scribe the drop tank so that it matches back to this one here. So the first thing we're going to get on here is I'm going to get the little fuel cap part done. So I'm just going to get the right size piece to fit that. And then I'm going to get a little piece of tape. And I'm just going to tape this onto the end of it like that. You can tape the other end if you want, but you can just hold on to it, and then you've got where you want the line to go. So what you want to do is start light and just start getting it into the plastic. As you go around, it'll start to go a little deeper. You can apply a little bit more pressure. You just want to keep going around and around and around and around until you get it to that point. I mean, you can go and go and go and go and go until you actually punch a hole out, but you just want to get enough of a depression there. Okay, you clean off that. There you go. Want to get a little bit of your sandpaper on there. Clean that all up. Now I go down in grade, so I got 400, then I got 800, just so that you can get it all smoothened out and get it, you know, a nice surface on there. And then I go back with it with 1000 grit. And that's the hole. You can see how it all turns white. That's from all of the dust going in there. You just want to clean it all out. You can either use that one, or you can use a toothbrush here. And there you go. That's your hole right there. Now for the other stuff, you want to go a little bit more into that. So they get this tape. Now it's a very thick tape. And I just got to figure out where I stuck my scissors. Well, if I can't find it, I can try to cut it with a knife. And what you want to do with this is you just want to lay it down here on the spot that you want to scribe. Now I would very strongly recommend you do this with very clean hands, because as you can see I got a little bit of the sanding dust from this on it and it's not sticking properly. So what you want to do here is you want to get that and just go right up against it and then just drag this thing right along the edge. If you've got a dynamo tape, I suggest using that, because this is actually my first time using this tape and I'm finding that the edge is collapsing a little bit. Whoa. Slips are a possibility. Always expect that. And we'll go with that. And that is just to give you the guidelines to go with. And then the next thing you can do is you can come back over it with something like maybe the universal scriber here from UMM. So at least you're removing material like I showed you. Okay, and then that's that. Take that out. Now we've got a line all ready to go. You can clean that up. You can sand that out if you want. Get in with the next grit. And then the 1000. Just to clean it all up. What you might want to do is just go back through it a little bit with this. Get rid of any of the buildup dust that's in there. Yeah, this line got a little shaky here, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to find that little piece of that thing of Dymo tape I've got, and we'll do the rest. Here's another important lesson to point out today. When organizing your desk, make sure you know where your shit is. Okay, so we got a Dymo tape. This is that label making machine. Just want to determine how much you need for this. Cut it off. And then you want to be able to get it to conform. So you can cut it right down the middle and make it thinner. That way it's easier to manipulate. Not to mention the fact that this stuff is hard to find nowadays, and it can be a little on the expensive side when you do find it. The drawback with this thing is it's really just a one stick deal. Once it comes off, it doesn't exactly go back on very well. Okay, so now we're going to set this one up here. Use the straight side, not the little zigzaggy cut one that I just did. And then you're going to go around, same like we did with the other tape. Just come around till it meets the other edge. Now this is usually a much better solution because it does hold up a little bit tighter. Here we go, like I said, it doesn't stick very well sometimes, so you just got to be careful with that. And then purpose for using the awl here first is just to give you a bit of a guide. You don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, you can go straight onto it with this thing here. Another good thing to use for something like this is an old measuring tape, because it's actually pretty flexible to do this. And there you go, and then that piece now is practically no good. So now we want to sand this all out, and by the white line there you can see what you got there. And we've got a spot here. Now the great thing with this tool is that it's really, once it starts getting going on a line, it'll just keep going. So as you can see, the line went straight into it. So you don't even necessarily have to. Know that little groove piece there, I mean, you can either decide to work on it or not. It's entirely up to you. So let's get on to this other back piece here. Come on, you little freak. Get the very straight edge part of it. You can just set it like that. Follow the raised line that's there. And go all the way around. Oh, this one actually stuck better, so this will do a much nicer line. And just for quickie sake, I'm going to use this one here to do it. And just so you can see, you can actually go with this end as well. Just depends on how you want to do it. So you can go that way, so you go right up to the edge there. And continue this around there. Let's get rid of that. There you go. And what you got here pretty much is a much better. Yeah, this one came out much better. Just going to clean out some of this dust that's built up in there. This brush isn't getting it all out. Gotta get loosened up, and there you go. Another thing you can do is get your Tamiya extra thin if you want. You can just put a little drop in there and bleed out. What that'll do is that'll just dissolve any dust that's sitting on in there and smoothen out the channel a little bit. Because the channel can be a little jagged when you do it. To me, it just basically, you know, burns off the edges, smooths out the bottom, gets rid of all of that dust that's built up in the bottom, and then you can go from there. So this is basically what we're doing right now, just to detail these drop tanks and stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up the remainder of this, and then I'll do the gun pod here, and then there'll be another couple of ideas that I'm going to go over with you as to how we can do some extra details on this, and just to, you know, like I said, make them look a little bit more interesting. So we've got all of everything done now, so we've got all of these scribed up, everything's ready to go. The missiles, all of the fins have been thinned out. We've got the seeker head basically here marked off. I'm going to go with this pod only because it looks a little bit interesting, so we've got a little scribing on that. And then the cannon pod has all been scribed out. And one of the other things I wanted to look at here is other ways of making details to make things look interesting. So from some of the reference photos I've seen, there seems to be a bit of a band around it. I don't know if that's a bracket to come on it. So basically we just got a couple of strips of Tamiya tape. We just wrapped around from here all the way around. And then we got another shorter piece here that just came here just to look like the edge of the band was there. Also a couple of little marks that look like some latches for maybe a cover to access the ammo feeds. Not 100% sure. And then there was a couple of plates on it that looked like information plates that were actually bolted into it. So what we're going to do is just do that just to get the rivet sides, and then we'll just maybe put a decal on that just to get the whatever information or something to simulate whatever information is on there. So we're going to go ahead and get these primed up. That's that. So we're going to leave that to cure for a bit, and then we'll start colors. Okay, so now that we've got pretty much most of this, the primer all cured up, we're going to start putting some of the colors down. So for the first color we're going to go with Mission Models High Low Vis Light Gray. The SEA side is going to be light gray on the bottom and white on the navel side. So we're going to do this here. So one of these we're going to do the gray on the bottom, and then the other one's going to be the gray on the top to kind of match up with the gold gray for the navel side. And then we're going to do the navel half of the gun pod. We're going to do this using the black basing method. So right now we're just going to go with the Iwata Neo. This is a great airbrush for this sort of thing. Pretty much any airbrush where you can take the air cap off and it'll still spray is a really good airbrush for this sort of thing. Because then you want to be able to get that very, very small spray pattern to do the marbling. So that's what we're going to do with here, and we're going to start on the SEA side one.
Down in the
got all the gray parts sprayed. This might not have been the best gray. I'm guessing this gray is a little bit more translucent than I expected it to be, but hey, it works. Had a little bit of primer loss here, but that might have been due to me improper cleanup. Now I'm seeing I got a little bit of a seam issue here I gotta go take care of, so I gotta get into that and get that all fixed up. Also got the tip of this brush painted in with some silver, because I'm gonna do a little bit of a hairspray treatment on that to get some nice chips and all of that going on it. All in all, this went down pretty okay, like I said, aside from some of the shortcomings here. This I gotta go address here and get those seam separations dealt with. So we're just going to let this sit for a bit, and we're going to tape it off, and then we're going to do the reverse color. So the dark green on the top of this, we're going to go white on the bottom of this to match the navel, and then we're going to go dark green on the other side of this for the SEA side of the gun pod, or the white.
Teardrop from your eyes, that would never change. Got caught up in promises that don't mean a thing. Stop living on fantasy, girl, you better change. Won't you tell my heart it's all a lie? You tell my heart it's all a lie.
And US dark green.
Run
F-4C, this is Hammer Party, stand down, that's EOD 01.